Hi, I'm Amy Kranick. I'm at the Polyform Design Center, and I want to show you how to make a really unique wine stopper. I'm starting out with a pearl, Premo pearl, rolled through the pasta machine on a number 3 setting, and then I'm layering over the top of that Premo translucent, also on number 3. And now what I want to do is just take some strips of peacock pearl and pewter. I'm using a lot of the new colors here, and then antique. Go back with the peacock pearl. I want to put this always in the, put the peacock pearl in between each color, and then antique gold. And keep repeating this, like I said, always putting peacock pearl in between until you have this whole thing covered. And then go ahead and roll over this to iron those into place. I'm even going to pick this up and turn it a quarter and iron it that way too. Okay, now I'm going to cut just a little bit of a straight edge right here, and I'm just going to roll this up jelly roll style, capturing all those little ribbons of color inside. And what you have there is just a jelly roll made up with ribbons. I'll cut this open so you can see what I'm describing. Alright, now you want to go ahead and reduce this to about the diameter that you want to use in your design. So if you look back here at my design I have, these are probably about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch thick. So I'm just going to reduce this by rolling it gently on my work surface until it's about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch in diameter. You can even reduce some by stretching. It's a good way to do it. Now at this point, if you'd like to, just to add a little more bling to your project, you could wrap your cane in some silver foil or silver leaf. And the way I do this is just to lay my cane right in the silver foil and just roll across it and start picking that up. Then you can very easily tear this extra foil away where it's not sticking. And I try to put it right back down in the packet so I can reuse that. Give this a few rolls on your work surface to make it really stick to your cane. And if you go ahead and reduce this a little bit more, you'll start to notice a crackle effect on the outside. And you may want that crackle effect or you may not, but if you keep reducing it and making the diameter of the cane smaller, it will crackle more and more. So you can either cover it with silver leaf, or you can use the cane as is without the silver leaf. I'm going to set these aside for just a moment because what we need next is a ball of clay that would be about the volume of my largest bead. This is actually just a bead on here. This is an awesome little setup of a wine stopper. All these come right off. And so what I'm talking about first is having a volume of clay that would be equal to my largest bead in the middle. And that's what this is. So what I want to do next is put some of this stray silver leaf on this ball. And you can just pick this stuff up real easily from the work surface. But also I'm going to take some pieces from my packet. I'm not going to cover the entire ball. I'm kind of just spreading it out over the surface, tearing it as I go. And once it's on there, then you want to just roll it on to make it stick. I'm going to set my leaf aside again, and now I'm going to take some cane slices and begin covering this ball with some slices. So I want to make my slices really thin because remember this cane has a translucent layer inside of it. And by making your slices very, very thin, that translucent layer will actually allow the silver leaf to come through. So start pressing these on the outside of the ball, and I usually go top and bottom and then 4 around the edge. Now this cane was one that did not have leaf on it. I want to show you what happens a little bit when you make a cane with leaf on the outside, so that if you try it and this comes up for you, you'll know that it happens to everyone. Usually when you have a cane with leaf, it will kind of squash as you're cutting it. I think the leaf holds the cane all together and doesn't want to give. And see how my cane slices come out sort of oval shaped instead of round? So all I do when that happens is just go ahead and pull that back out. And I just wanted you to see how that happens, and it's not a big deal. Now that looks beautiful. We could use it just like that, and you can see the colors in this particular one are real vibrant. But for this piece, I wanted the colors to be a little more muted for the holiday season. So what I did was cover it with some mica. This is pearl mica, and it's actually micro pearl, so it's super, super fine. And I'm just going to apply it to the outside of this ball using a very fine paintbrush and just smearing it all over. I can even pick some of this up off my silicone baking mat. Just dust this all over, and you can see how it just makes those colors more muted, and just the whole thing's just a lot more festive with that nice soft glow on the outside. Tap that up. Now I want to roll this again to make sure the mica is stuck well to the outside of the ball. Okay, now that's beautiful by itself. If you wanted to, you could poke a hole through this and make sure it's a hole large enough to accommodate your wine stopper. You could put that on for a ball-shaped wine stopper. But I want to show you how to make it into more of a lentil shape by doing a swirl bead technique. So for the swirl bead technique, you just start with the ball right in front of you, and you need something that's flat and glass. And it's nice if you can see through it like this to see the ball. And you just push with a little bit of light pressure, pushing down, and then start spinning in a circular motion. You want to keep the downward pressure very even and spin in even circles. And you can see I kind of travel when I do this, but I think that's typical. And so what it does is it makes a bicone bead, which raises up 2 points. And then what we can do is poke a hole through this to go on our wine stopper. So what you want to do is take your etch and pearl tool, and this is the largest one because, well, I think maybe, yeah, that's a pretty good match to the wine stopper post. So I'm going to make a starting point in the top point of that swirl bead, and I have on the other side, I have my finger gently pressed against this point, and I'm using a drilling motion to go straight down toward that other side. And now I can feel it touching my finger, so I'm turning it over to see where it's coming through, and that's just about perfect. This takes a little practice, so don't feel badly if it goes a little off to the side on your first try. And then you want to go back from the other direction. That makes the hole a lot neater if you'll go one way and then the other. Okay, now the main reason I chose the largest etch and pearl, and I forgot to tell you this earlier, but now I'm telling you, is that it fits so perfectly with Polyform's new bead cores. The bead cores are these little silver liners that you can put on the insides of beads, and they fit perfectly on the largest etch and pearl. So I'll slide one on, then slide my swirl bead onto the etch and pearl as well, so it just touches the bead core. Now I need a second bead core to come from the other side, and I take my fingernails and just gently push it down, push from both sides until I'm also turning as I'm pushing. That way the bead cores get seated in that raw clay bead just perfectly. Okay, now to remove it from the etchant, you could bake it on here, but what I want to do is double check that I've created a bead that's suitable for my wine stopper, so I'm going to have to take it off. And I just push from the end that has the large pearl end, and I just take my fingernail and push slightly to get it loose, and then I can just grab it, twist the etch and pearl out. See how beautifully that sits in there? It makes the piece look so finished to have that metal edge. Now I can go ahead and test this on my wine stopper and see if I like the dimensions and proportions of it. So that looks very nice. This needs to be baked at 275 for about 30 minutes. I'm going to set that one aside and show you how you can make some accent beads. So I'm going to show you how to make a bead like this. I have taken some of the peacock pearl. This is the peacock pearl, and I rolled a tube shape, and then I rolled this in the silver leaf like I showed you earlier. And what I'm going to do is stand this up, and I want to start by making a hole in the top and then a hole in the bottom. Now this bead is way taller than you might think you need, but the reason it's so tall is I want it to get compressed so that it pillows out and makes this nice donut shape around the bead cores. So I've made the bead about twice as tall as it needs to be. Once I have my starter hole, then I'm going to drill through here with the etch and pearl. And it's getting a little stiff going through there, so I just go back the other way and it'll get looser. And now don't forget to put another bead core all the way down. Slide the bead on. And then another bead core, sandwiching the bead in the middle. And I'm going to gently use my fingernails to push the clay toward the bead cores and push the bead cores toward the clay. And as I'm doing this, I'm pushing gently in small spots. I'm turning the etch and pearl tool as I go, and see how the bead is starting to pillow out around the bead cores. Now I'm gonna, for this size bead, I'm gonna keep going until the bead cores touch in the middle. So you can actually only go so far, because if you look at these bead cores, if you put two together, you see there's at least 1/4 of an inch there in between them, and once those touch in the middle, that's as far as you can go. I'm using that for my gauge of how thick my beads will be. Now I'm ready to slide this off and just check the size and shape, and I like that. I want to try this on my wine stopper. Fits beautifully, and this fits well too. So for this design you could have just one large bead and one small bead after these are baked. Or if you have made your swirl bead smaller or shorter, then you have room for 2 beads on top of your wine stopper. What a great gift idea for the holidays. I can't wait to make about 100 of these and give them to all my close friends.